After 2 years, the fallout from the groundbreaking Michael Jordan documentary is still going strong, and another former NBA star has weighed in on the rivalry between Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan this week. Pippen's comments following the documentary have attracted a ton of comments or criticisms after seemingly calling out his former teammate, and earlier this month, another former NBA icon responded, which we'll be talking about today, so stay with us. First up, what did Pippen actually say about MJ? Back in 2020, The Last Dance, the story of Michael Jordan's time with the Chicago Bulls, dropped on Netflix, to much fanfare. But one man who didn't seem to share the enthusiasm of the fans about the documentary was Scottie Pippen, Jordan's former Bulls teammate. Shortly after The Last Dance aired, Pippen released his memoir, Unguarded, which again brought up his old rivalry with MJ and painted the 1987 Round 1 pick in a not-so-flattering light. During one particular interview, Pippen claimed he didn't have a grudge against Jordan, despite having written plenty of disparaging things about him. He said, "I'm not saying in any way that I have a grudge against Michael Jordan. This book has nothing to change our direction or our relationship. When we see each other, probably just gonna be a, 'Hi, what's up, dude?' and you go this way, and I go that way." I'm not saying that wasn't stated in the documentary. No, not at all, and didn't expect to hear from Jordan. It's unclear as to what Jordan makes of Pippen's remarks, although he is probably too busy to care, being the boss over at the Charlotte Hornets, as well as having his fingers in many other pies. And Pippen also said that he spoke to Jordan following the release of the documentary, and MJ is still more than aware about how he feels, claiming that he told him straight up he wasn't pleased with it, probably because the sole focus wasn't on Pippen himself. Next, we're talking about another NBA legend who has recently spoken out. Former Atlanta Hawks star Dominique Wilkins, who came up against Pippen and Jordan's Chicago Bulls on numerous occasions throughout the 80s and 90s, is the latest in a long line of stars to chime in on the subject of Jordan and Pippen. He joins former NBA stars, current players, fans, and commentators to have their say on the issue. Wilkins' Hawks were just one of the many teams left in the wake of the dominant Bulls, so it's interesting to see the perspective of someone who played against them. And he says that he finds Pippen's comments puzzling to say the least, also saying that he doesn't understand why he continues to complain. He made reference to the fact that when you're part of such a dominant side like the Bulls were, all that personal stuff goes out the window, which kind of makes sense, right? Who cares if you don't like someone when you're achieving greatness? Wilkins went on to say how he didn't understand what the problem was, and at the end of the day, they made a ton of cash and won all those championships. And when you strip it down to the bare bones, as Wilkins has, it makes perfect sense. For an icon like Pippen to be continually bringing something up that happened more than a quarter of a century ago is, well, childish, quite frankly. What do you make of Wilkins' comments? Fair enough? Let us know down below. So what else did he have to say? Wilkins was speaking on the Windy City podcast shortly after this year's All-Star game, which saw the aforementioned MJ in attendance, alongside legends of the game like Jerry West and Magic Johnson. But Scottie Pippen was conspicuous in his absence, even though he was included on the guest list. It was rumored that he did not want to be in Jordan's presence, which again is kind of childish given all they achieved together. And Wilkins also referenced this, saying that their bond seemed airtight during their playing careers. Wilkins continued to show disbelief in how Pippen could be displeased with the situation, saying, "Look, you were in a great situation with the greatest player, and you won. Do you win it without Mike? There's no way you won't win it without Mike. I don't care what you think. You played with one of the top 3 or 4 players to ever play the game. I just don't understand the problem." These comments are probably fair, as it is widely acknowledged that the Bulls probably wouldn't have won their championships without Jordan, or if they had, they wouldn't have done so as easily as they did. NBA analyst Charles Barkley also echoes Wilkins' sentiments, accusing Pippen of big game hunting with an eye on book sales. There's no doubt that Pippen was a great player in his own right, which most of these guys admit, but most people are united in their confusion as to why Pippen is still taking shots at Jordan. A quick look at Wilkins' Hawks now. Stay tuned. The Atlanta outfit had Trae Young to thank after pulling off a comeback win against the Blazers on Monday night to record their second win after beating the Pacers on Sunday. Young was in blistering form, netting 46 points, 12 assists, and 6 rebounds to secure a 122-113 win for his team. Young has now scored 40-plus points in 2 straight games, with the Hawks still firmly in mid-table. Nate McMillan's men had trailed 34-29 after the first quarter, but Young was making things happen from the start, bagging more than half of the Hawks' points in the first, and they were still behind at halftime, trailing by 9 points, 67-58, with Josh Hart inspiring the Blazers. Things went from bad to worse in the third, and at one point they were trailing 72-58, but then the 23-year-old 20-year-old point guard, Young took over. He inspired the Georgia team to go on a 31-6 run in the third, scoring 21 points himself, finishing the quarter leading 89-84, which was quite the turnaround given their performance in the first half. The Blazers' offense must take part in the blame for their poor showing in the third after turning the ball over 5 times in a row at one point. The Hawks rallied and held on to their lead in the fourth, and after a brief scare in the closing minutes, held on to the win. What have you made of the Hawks this season? Kyrie Irving's huge showing for the Nets is up next. Tuesday night, March 15th, saw possibly the greatest performance in the career of the controversial Kyrie Irving, after scoring a massive 60 points for the Nets in their dominant win over the Orlando Magic. The point guard was in blistering form and hit 20 for 31 from the field and 8 for 12 from beyond the arc. The Nets' number 11, who earlier this season provoked debate surrounding his stance on vaccinations, scored 41 points in the first half alone, the most for more than 5 years. Irving, who is now the Nets' record scorer in a single game, guided his side to their 4th straight win. The Nets are now 36-33 for the season, and Irving becomes the latest player to score at least 50 points in March. He joins LeBron James, of course, Jason Tatum, Kevin Durant, and Karl Anthony Towns to pull off this magnificent achievement. Coupled with Towns scoring 60 on Monday, it becomes the first time 60 points have been scored on consecutive days since 1962, when Wilt Chamberlain did it himself, with 2 60-point performances. Crazy stuff. Of course, Irving's performance was the talk of Twitter. Fans and players alike flooded to social media with congratulatory messages. His form begs the question that if he was available in the state of New York, would the Nets be further up in the Eastern Conference table? What do you guys think? And finally, we're talking about an impressive young Raptors talent. Stay with us. The Toronto Raptors took on the LA Lakers Monday night and made sure that LeBron and co.'s season went from bad to worse. And it was a big night for rookie power forward Scottie Barnes, who was going up against his hero, LeBron James. The youngster proved his mental toughness after James had appeared to try to intimidate the Florida native with his strength and power, but Barnes was having none of it. In one play in particular, where the youngster posted up on James after dribbling between his legs, the past saw the future, and we got to see what could be the next big thing in the NBA. Pascal Siakam, teammate of Barnes, said, "He's not scared of anything. He's not scared of anyone. He's got that confidence." And that is clear to see. The Raptors' number 4 is now in with a chance of bagging the Rookie of the Year award, and no one would be surprised if he was to win it. What have you made of Barnes' season so far, and who would your Rookie of the Year be? Let us know down below. As always, thanks for tuning in today, and remember to stop by next time for some more fun and games. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Adios, amigos.